Today, I'm going to share with you 10 strategies to get a top LSAT score on your LSAT retake, help you get a 175 plus no matter where you've scored in the past. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. And for me, my breakthrough came when I radically changed my approach when I took a fundamentally different tack on my LSAT prep. And so I'm going to encourage you to do the same. Strategy number one here is reassess your previous LSAT prep and consider a different approach, different resources. If you only used textbooks in the past or only used a video course in the past, it may be worth considering a course where you have live support and you can get feedback on how you're personally approaching the questions. If there is a prep course or a tutor or a coach you haven't yet used but we're considering, now is the time. At LSAT Unplugged, we offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. If you're interested in finding out more, you can check out the links below to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. Now, the second strategy I'll recommend is adopting more active learning techniques rather than passive learning techniques. A lot of students, far too many, get absorbed in working through LSAT textbook after LSAT textbook when yet another 500-page phone book is not going to contain the insight that will radically change everything for you. You need to actively engage with the LSAT questions themselves and get feedback on how you're thinking about the questions, working actively, taking notes, reviewing in depth, articulating your thought process with a study buddy or a coach or a tutor, or even just in your notebook, or even just recording videos or voice memos of yourself talking through the questions. I personally have learned so much from teaching the LSAT to others that I found that my students do the same when they lead study groups, for example. They get a tremendous amount of insight from boiling down concepts as simply as possible in the process of explaining them to someone else. So strategy number two is take a more active approach to your prep and learn through teaching. Strategy number three here is to mix it up, not just drilling questions by question stem type. When on test day, you're going to have a mix of different question types. And so interweave different question types in the same study session to change it up, to improve your ability to adapt under actual test day conditions. Logical reasoning, for example, 2/3 of the test now is a grab bag of 25 or 26 questions all mixed up. You're not going to be doing 20 strengthening questions in a row on test day, so don't do that in your studying once you're past the foundational phase. It's now time for you to do them in the context of individual sections and work on your pacing, or pull it all together in the context of a full-length timed practice test. This will break you out of autopilot and promote deeper thinking for you, which you'll need on test day itself, and enhance your ability to recognize different question types quickly. Strategy number four here is to keep a mistake log or a wrong answer journal where you're analyzing your mistakes in depth, not just looking at the questions that you get wrong, but also the ones where you have difficulty and you got it right ultimately, but it just as easily could have gone the other way. Every question that you get wrong or have difficulty with is an opportunity to learn something new, but you're not going to learn that key insight unless you review your mistakes in depth. I find that far too many students on their first or second go at the LSAT, they're just taking test after test, or they're drilling question after question, but they're not reviewing their mistakes in depth after the fact. And so I recommend using a deep review technique like the Socratic review method to figure out exactly what mistakes you're making and why, so that you can avoid making them again next time around. This review technique, the Socratic review method, is a cornerstone of our LSAT courses and our one-on-one coaching programs, and we can certainly walk you through that process if you're interested. The idea being here that you want to identify patterns in the mistakes that you're making, whether it's misreading the question stem type or you're falling for certain kinds of trap answers, and you want to extract the insights from that review to focus your studying and drill weak areas going forward. Strategy number 5 here is to focus on difficult questions once you're already doing quite well. So if you're scoring around a 165 and you want to break into the 170, 175 range, you don't necessarily need to be working on easy questions anymore because those aren't the ones you're getting wrong. Of course, there's value in doing full sections of logical reasoning, for example, but you may also benefit from drilling tough questions specifically, focusing on, say, questions 15 to 25 within a given logical reasoning section, skipping the easier ones when you don't have time to do a full section, so that way you're working on the questions you're most likely to have trouble with and benefit more from that review process. Strategy number 6 here is to refine your test-taking strategies, working on process of elimination, letting go. So for example, one strategy I found incredibly beneficial yet difficult to implement is to confidently choose an answer choice even if you don't understand it. This is extremely difficult to do because it's hard to let go and choose a choice when you don't understand what it's even saying. But the thing is that if you can confidently eliminate the 4 wrong answer choices, the ones that you know to be wrong, then whatever remains, even if you don't know exactly what it's saying, you have no choice logically, rationally, but to pick it. And you can get a question right, even if you don't fully deserve to get it right because you didn't know exactly what it was saying. So work on strategies like this in the context of your timed sections and your full practice tests, and you may be able to eke out a few more points through this approach. You also want to think about the order of approach in a given section. So for example, in reading comprehension, you might want to do the global general questions first, then the local detail-oriented questions, and finally save the more inferential questions for last. Or in logical reasoning, you may want to work on your pacing, speeding up on the easier questions, developing a time bank that you can then apply to the tougher questions later in the section. Now, strategy number 7 is focused more on your mental conditioning and positive visualization aspect of preparing for test day itself. These sorts of techniques can be incredibly helpful in overcoming test anxiety. If you're nervous, if you find yourself spiraling in the context of a timed setting, if you have trouble letting go of questions that came before, if you can work on techniques like mindfulness meditation to strengthen your self-control, to focus only on the task at hand, only on the question in front of you, that can go a long way to translating your practice sections into actual test day results. Even just a few minutes a day of mindfulness or a few minutes a day of positive visualization can reap massive rewards when you do it over the course of just a few weeks in the lead up to test day. Of course, more is better if you can. Strategy number 8 here is to not be afraid to go back to the basics in certain areas, in certain question types. So even if you've already done the foundational work, if you're already focused more on doing, say, a practice test a week and reviewing it in depth, if you discover any particular weak areas, you may want to drill those on the side. But before you drill those areas, you may also want to review some foundational course lesson videos just to get a quick recap of the basics and set yourself up for success on your drilling and then bringing it back to those full exams. Strategy number 9 here is don't go it alone. Form an LSAT community with others who are also aiming for a top score. This could come together in a study group or finding a single study buddy or joining a classroom setting where you can connect with other students who are at a similar level aiming for a top LSAT score. At LSAT Unplugged, we facilitate these kinds of study groups, and of course, we also offer those live small group classes as well. Links below to find out more. And finally, strategy number 10, it's not just about LSAT prep itself. You also need to make sure that you're at top level when it comes to sleep, diet, exercise, and relaxation. All the elements that go into a top performance on test day are also about making sure that you are at the top of your game and you walk into test day feeling calm, collected, and ready to crush this test. Again, reach out if I can help in any way. I'm happy to do it. Links below.